name is Pub. My name is Tammy. And this is where characters gather. And I think, I'm crossing my fingers, I'm hoping, I'm praying, I'm, doing all the things. But I think that I have finally exited the reading slump that lasted, almost 2 weeks, which is just way, way too long in my personal opinion. So, I tried everything I know. I tried audiobooks. I tried switching genres. I, tried reading things I knew I wanted to read, but they were on the list of possibilities, and my brain just rebelled. I don't know how else to tell you that. It just rebelled. What finally broke it? After 5 or 6 stalled attempts to read a Joanne Fluke book. I'd finally had enough, and I went into the spare bedroom where the Joanne Flukes are kept, found the next one in the series. In fact, I found the next 2. I pulled them. I read the next one in the series for me, and yep, that is, what broke the reading slump. And I know I am not alone in reading slump February, and if you are still in one, I apologize. I would get you out of that lifeboat if I could, but unfortunately, I can only tell you what worked for me. And for me, it was a Joanne Fluke. Easy, cozy, cooking, family, they're all there. I did start a reading vlog getting me out of the Fluke, except stopping to film clips was interfering with reading, and I did not want to stall the progress of I'm invested and I'm interested and my brain is actually happy to film. So I'm going to scrap that, and instead the end of February wrap up is going to just be what I read to get out of the slump, and what I have in process, and what's up next. So, and stay tuned for the end. I will talk about a bunch of videos that have either been filmed or will be filmed that are coming up here in the month of March. Editing Tammy. I forgot to talk about an entire book. I finished it immediately after my surprise update video, which I will link down below, and that is The Shivering Sands by Victoria Holt. I forgot 2 books, actually. So, I read this for Anne's Reading the Classics Challenge, and I listened to it on Audible. It was fantastic, and has spurred a video you will learn about at the end of this video. And I will read you the description. Her sister's mysterious disappearance will lead her to a deadly secret. Caroline Verlaine knows something is wrong. Her sister has gone missing, and no one can tell her why. The only option is to go where Roma was last seen, an estate with deadly history. The Stacy family has lived off the Dover coast for generations, carefully navigating the treacherous quicksands nearby. But the sands aren't Caroline's biggest threat. Everyone here has a secret, especially the enigmatic young heir Napier Stacy. No matter where Caroline turns, the ground she walks is dangerous. And the closer Caroline comes to unraveling the truth, the closer she comes to sharing her sister's fate. So, this is a historical romantic suspense. It is very gothic in nature. There's an old The Stacy estate is it's described in the book as a castle. It's really not. There is a Roman ruin nearby that is much more accurately a castle. And Caroline herself is a young widow. She wants to investigate her sister Roma's disappearance, but she wants to do so clandestinely. So she gets a position as governess in the household with using her married, not her maiden name. So there is not an immediate connection made to her sister. And what transpires is this tightly knit, beautifully atmospheric, evocative, creepy, suspenseful story with a surprising villain and characters you will remember. The writing in this book was absolutely beautiful. I do not know a better way to describe it. The ability to set a scene and build tension was masterfully done. And no modern day romantic suspense writer comes remotely close. Just not even remotely close. It is 100% clean. Yes, there is romantic tension, and this was such an amazing read. This was part of Read My Life, my personal challenge. It was first published in 1869, so it is just slightly younger than myself. And I will read more by her without a second thought as I see them in, the used bookstore, library bookstore. I will be picking them up. They are, it was absolutely fantastic. I do not know a better way to describe it. It's making all the modern romantic suspense currently sitting on my shelves or on my Kindle look that much less interesting and attractive. That's how good it was. So I also finished, I don't have my copy handy, The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This was also for Anne's reading challenge, and it fit all of the scavenger hunt items beautifully. And this is among the most well-known of the Sherlock mysteries, so I'm not going to summarize it. Again, it is older. It's even older than Shivering Sands, obviously. And atmosphere out the wazoo, without unnecessary language, without cussing, without politics. It just builds tension between characters that is palpable on the written page and palpable when you listen to it. And Doyle's ability to set a scene and build tension are so well done that even when it is a highly familiar story, like this one is to me, we've all seen, modern adaptations to it, the modern twists, updating it for the, modern reader, and they don't come close to the original. The original was just perfection itself. And I'm very glad I read it. I'm just very glad I read it. So with that is everything I actually read in February. Okay, back to what I was talking about. Okay, so what did I read to break out? Well, before we get to that, what was I reading to try and get out of the slump that was very bad? So I was supposed to finish Anne of Avonlea in February. I got a third of the way through, and when an Anne book can't hold my attention, that is a warning sign. And I set it aside for almost 2 weeks, so I will undoubtedly finish it this week. I did not finish it over the weekend, but I did pick it back up and make progress in it. And that is all I really wanted to do personally. I also picked up Seed of Doubt by Ralph McInerney. This is the 18th book in the Father Dowling series. And I got 100 pages into this, and I couldn't tell you what I read. I wasn't invested. I didn't care. I did do a little research, and there are 30 or 32 books in this series, and they're very hard to get. They're not all available on Kindle. So I now have a new goal to just start picking these up anytime I see them, regardless of condition, because I looked over the weekend and they're not all going to be, like new or in very good condition. So I will settle for what I can get. But then again, Better World books will come in handy for that. And I was listening to an audiobook, which I have finished, so I will talk about it then. It was not initially holding my attention, unfortunately, and it was not a reflection on the book in any sense. So, what did I read to get out of the slump? You ready? Double Fudge Brownie Murder by Joanne Fluke. This is the 19th book in the Hannah Swenson series, and it is the immediate book after the Blackberry Pie Murder, which I read summer of last year. And this is not a perfect Hannah Swenson book by any stretch of the imagination. And if I was being objective about this book, I would probably give it a 2.5 to a 3. But it's going to get a solid 4. Because it got me out of reading slump. And I'm invested enough to pick up the next book in the series. And I picked up other books after I finished this one. And that is what I needed the book to do. Did it beautifully. I cannot stress how thankful I am that there is one series I know, even in the worst of slumps, will get me out of it. And yeah, I need to stop donating those books and start putting them all back into the house so that I can reread them to get out of the slump if it's really that bad. So, okay, so what is this one about? So this one picks up immediately where Blackberry Pie Murder concludes, and Hannah is, well, not immediately, but contiguously immediately. Hannah is about to go on trial for vehicular homicide, which takes place very early on in the preceding book. And everybody knows it's a nonsense charge, but, the prosecutor has points he's trying to score. And so Hannah goes to the courthouse so the trial's coming up. But before that, Hannah, her sisters, and her mother, and her mother's fiance all go to Vegas together because Doc and Dolores are eloping. And it's a surprise for Dolores. It's a beautiful thing. And as his best man, Doc, asks one of Hannah's good friends from college to be his best man, who was in a couple of previous books, like, somewhere between 5 and 10 books prior to this one. I don't even remember him being a significant side character, but nonetheless. And they obviously have some feelings for each other. And this is where the book was incredibly weak, in my opinion. It turns into a very much insta-love kind of vibe. So if you haven't read the series, Hannah has this long time ongoing indecision between two men in her hometown of Lake Eden, Minnesota. Mike, who is the detective on the police force, and Norman, who is the town dentist. And both guys know about each other. And by this point in the series, both Mike and Norman have told Hannah that they love her and want to marry her, and both guys have had, and she hasn't, nobody's in a committed relationship, so this is not a love triangle type of situation. A couple books back, Norman almost got married. She ended up dying. Mike has been married previously, but his wife is dead. So they all have history and baggage together. And so Hannah spends most of this book fretting about telling Mike and Norman about Ross, the guy from Vegas, who's now moving to Lake Eden. And there are some definite red flags in this book that Ross isn't exactly who Hannah thinks he is. So they get, her mom and Doc get married, and she's back in Lake Eden, and she goes with her lawyer to the first day of her trial. The judge asks to meet with him, and Hannah discovers the judge dead in his office, and it's obviously a violent death. Hannah's considered a suspect for obvious reasons, and the story goes from there. I was completely invested. There were some very great recipes. In fact, I made one. And here are the pictures. And these were the, what does she call them? Burger dogs. And what they are is a double stuffed burger. So it's a regular hamburger with a stuffing of hot dog with all the condiments on top of it mixed in. And they were really good. Like, I would actually make them again. And there are several recipes in this book that just sound so good that I want to make, and that's typical for a Joanne Fluke book for me. I finished this book on Saturday? Yeah, Saturday afternoon, late, and it is exactly what I needed. It is exactly what I wanted, and I got up Sunday morning and I picked up books. Actually, I picked up a book Saturday. So, what did I pick up Saturday? So, before we do that, so, like I said, solid 4-star because it got me out of a reading slump. Is the content 4-star? No. It's 2.5 to a 3. Somewhere around there. Maybe a 2.75 on Storygraph. only because of the insta-love factor, and the way the murder investigation here wraps up was a little convenient, but otherwise it was what I needed. So, on Saturday, after I finished this, as you know, if you watched my March tag, which I'll link down below, the 1st of March is National Horses Protection Day. So I picked up one of the books with about horses, and I picked up The Triumph of Angel's Comb by Hilary Walker. This is Catholic fiction, and it's my first book by her. It's definitely about horses. I didn't get very far, but I'm invested. I'm like 25, 35 pages in, and I'm invested. I want to know what happens. The author's note in the beginning of the book was absolutely fantastic about the current state of affairs and of the church and what drove her to write this particular novel. And I agreed with everything she said in that author's note. So if you are a traditional Catholic, so far, Hilary Walker is the author for you. And I will just leave that there because that is a self-explanatory statement. And I will undoubtedly finish that this week. It's not going to be a long read. And I have another series by her on my Kindle, which I'm now looking forward to immensely. And I will probably read a lot of her backlist. And I'm excited about that. So, and on Sunday, I did pick up Anne of Avonlea again. I made some progress. I'm enjoying it again. I don't feel like it's a slog, which is how I was feeling before as the reading slump set in. And again, this should be one I have no trouble finishing this week. But more importantly, I went back to the audiobook. I was reading and it wasn't really working, which is odd because it should have worked. It was book 10 in the Bookmobile Cat series by Laurie Cass. That is The Crime That Binds. And this is the last, not the last. It is available on Audio Plus currently as of this filming. So, and it's March in Upper Michigan, and Minnie and what's her fiance's name? I can't remember her fiance's name. Anyway, they're starting to plan their wedding. Her best friend is back in Chilson. She's heavily pregnant. And there's shenanigans going on at the library with the friends of the board and the new library director. And one of the loyal patrons of the Bookmobile behaves very weirdly, and Minnie has to figure out why. Turns out he's accused of some crimes downstate. They find a local resident and Bookmobile patron dead. He's accused of that. Minnie doesn't believe it for a moment. And, a mystery ensues with all the Rafe is Minnie's fiance. There's side character stuff going on. Minnie and Eddie solve the mystery, and Eddie, of course, is the cat. He's there at the key pivotal moment to save Minnie. It was just pure delight. There's 3 more books after this. She's still writing the series to the best of my knowledge. And I absolutely love this series. I am not tired of it. It hasn't gotten on my nerves. It hasn't gotten stale. And book 13 comes out this year. October 7th, 2025. So I only have 2 more to go to be caught up to date. And I will get that done before October. Because I truly, if you like cats, if you like libraries, if you like books set in Michigan, this is a great series. It's clean. They're, what was I saying before Fireball interrupted? Anyway, I highly recommend you go and pick this series up. I absolutely adore it. I absolutely adore it. Okay, so what else am I reading? Well, today is the 3rd of March. So I have started Valley of the Horses by Gina Mall. And as much as I want to read this book, and I read 50 pages, maybe less than that, 35 pages, it wasn't enough to break my slump. And I didn't want to continue because I know how much I want to read this book and this series, so I set it aside, but I will come back to this. I am in the mood for this very much, but there are, if you are a mood reader, you will understand this. There are books you very much want to read, and you also know that if you pick up a book at the wrong time, it's just not going to work. And that's where I was with this book, and I don't want to be there, so I set it aside. And and Chrissy, I apologize, I have not made any progress since I last picked this up. I am reading an anthem with Chrissy. This is hard science fiction, and it requires brain capacities. I will pick this up this week. I will make progress this week. And I will, in a perfect world, I will get through, it's divided into parts. I will get through part 2, which would put me at 157 pages. And I can do that if I sit down and just, read. So, that's easy. It's 125 pages. That's 25 pages a day. I have the brain capacity to do that. And last up, I am starting this tomorrow. That is The Masked City. It is book 2 in the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Cogman. And this takes place in an alternate magical realism version of Victorian England. Steampunk. There's magic. I loved the first book, which is The Invisible Library. And the reason this one is up today and tomorrow, is this takes place in not necessarily Fat Tuesday, but Carnival is a permanent event in Venice. And I will read you the back. The written word is mightier than the sword, most of the time. Working in an alternate version of Victorian London, librarian Spy Irene has settled into a routine, collecting important fiction for the mysterious library and blending it nicely with the local culture. But when her apprentice Kai, a dragon of royal descent, is kidnapped by the Fae, her carefully crafted cover operation begins to crumble. Kai's abduction could incite a conflict between the forces of chaos and order that would devastate all worlds and all dimensions. To keep humanity from getting caught in the crossfire, Irene will have to team up with a local Fae leader to travel deep into a version of Venice filled with dark magic, strange coincidences, and perpetual celebration of Carnival, and save her friend before he becomes the first casualty of a catastrophic war. By navigating the tumultuous landscape of Fae politics will take more than Irene's book smarts and fast talking. To ward off Armageddon, she might have to sacrifice everything she holds dear. I really enjoyed the first book. Like, tremendously enjoyed the first book. And, you know, it's 350 pages. And I am just... looking forward to this immensely. So, okay. That is what's possibly up next. So, let's talk about upcoming videos. I am currently in the process of editing my March recommendations video, which leads me to this disclaimer. I am behind on watching YouTube videos. Part of the reading slump was anything book related I wanted nothing to do with. I couldn't watch videos. I couldn't read. I couldn't even, you know, peruse my Kindle. So, if I have not caught up on videos, I apologize. It is nothing personal, but, yeah. Okay. So, I'm in the process of editing the March recommendations video. It will come out immediately after this video. So, if I get this video out today, the March recommendations video will come out on Wednesday of this week. And on Friday of this week, there's another video awaiting editing in my queue. That is a viewer request. And that is for stay-at-home mom fiction recommendations that are not feminist in nature. And I'll give you a sneak peek. This was much harder than it sounds. It was much harder than it sounds. But it was also fascinating. So those two are filmed and awaiting editing. And to be filmed, I probably am going to start a new series entitled something along the lines of strong women characters in fiction. I have a bunch of books pulled over here. You can probably see them. I have books lined up on my Kindle, on the laptop to discuss. So I'm probably going to break that up into several videos. And we all know I abhor a poorly written female character who's, you know, wishy-washy and weak and easily led by those around her. So, yeah, let's highlight some strong female characters. And after that, I have a video of all of my, not all, but a vast portion of the Kindle monthly deals I have gotten in 2025. Some of them are entire series. I am energized by many of those books. And I am looking forward to them immensely. Some of them are some favorite authors. I found a bunch of Catholic fiction that I didn't know existed, and somehow they popped up on a Kindle, you know, deal, so I picked them up. Or they're, you know, Catholic secular, and thus I picked them up. So or, you know, they're just flat out secular. But I will share all of those with you. And I think I'm probably going to do that once a quarter. So, in addition to, this is completely separate from the Hidden on My Kindle series, which I will be continuing. And also, as they've come up on, as they come on sale on Kindle, because they are very hard to find in physical format if you can find them, or they are re-released at, silly pricing. I am starting to pick up, quote unquote, classic romances, authors like Mary Stewart or Victoria Holt or Georgette Hare, and I am going to do a video highlighting those books because they are so much better. And I saw a video idea this morning, and I think it's amazing, so I'm going to do it. And that is the books I would save in the event of a disaster. Now, I'm not going to link the actual video I saw because I saw just enough of it to know that it's done for a political reason, and I don't agree with it, and I'm not going to share it for that reason. And I'm not doing it for the reason he did, but the 10 books, I don't know how many, I haven't pulled them yet. The books I would save in a disaster. I think that'll be fascinating. What off my shelves am I going to pull? It's a very good question. So those are just some of the forthcoming videos. The apparent creativity drought that hit in mid-February is past, thankfully. So there will be content coming. Okay. Are you in a reading slump? Have you broken out of it? What are you currently reading? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.